What's poppin' with the SQUA? How y'all doing? How y'all living? It's your boy Amauri. We back with another one. And today we got an album review for y'all. I know it's been a while since I dropped one of those. It's time for me to get back in my bag. I miss doing it. It's just been a lot on my plate, not gonna lie to y'all. But that's besides the point. We here right now. I'm about to talk to y'all about this Alec Benjamin album. And I'm doing this more so out of nostalgia's sake, I'm not gonna lie. Because let's be real, I think, I want to say maybe it was John Bellion he was opening for. All I remember, it was like some years ago back in Seattle at the Paramount Theater, I want to say. That was one of my first few concerts that I had gone to. And I'm pretty sure it was part 1 or 2 of the Human Condition tour. I want to say it was part 1. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't honestly remember, but I do remember seeing him. I do remember just kind of being like, not really my bag, not really my cup of tea. Wasn't a fan of his voice, but I was also very young. I was also just not as welcoming to hearing new music as I am now. That being said, let's get into it. Alec Benjamin, uncommentary. Here's how I feel about it. First thing, this needs to be said, if there's one thing that has not changed in all these years, it's his high-pitched voice. I guess that's just one of his defining characteristics. I remember just when I saw him in concert thinking, is his voice going to get deeper at some point? It didn't really, but at this point, I can honestly say I kind of do enjoy his voice. I do think his voice has matured well. I do think there's a difference. Not much, but there's a difference. I do like the way he uses his voice on this album, but I definitely enjoyed this album, and I found it surprisingly replayable with a few songs in specific. The first 2 songs, Dopamine Addict and Hammers, definitely radio friendly, definitely high energy. Are they my favorite songs? No, but they were catchy enough to get stuck in my head, and I've even, like I said, very radio friendly because I've heard them be played on the radio. I think it was a pretty good intro. It made me want to listen to the album. It made me want to continue. It didn't immediately turn me off and say, ugh. But unfortunately, that didn't really continue because the way you felt was it just was not a favorite song of mine. I'm not going to sit here and say I hated it. I think the melody itself was really nice. I think the hook was decent. But like, if I'm being honest, the verses felt like singer-songwriter lyrical miracle, if I'm being real with you guys. It did not come across well for me. I didn't receive it well. And I feel like that's kind of a common theme with this album. At this point, I'm just a little too old, and that's relatively speaking to his audience. I feel like his audience is a lot younger, but I just did not find it very appealing. I think Shadow of Mine was a nice track. I like how the track built on itself all throughout. The hook, I think that was one of the best ones on this album, to be honest, and I think it all came together to produce a very solid track, one of the better ones on this album. Nuance is a track I honestly cannot stand. It is like, the hook, it annoys the living crap out of me. I think I don't like the idea of the song. He tries to personify the word nuance. I don't like that. And then besides that, the amount of times he says that word throughout this song, oh my god, that is one of my biggest pet peeves, is just repeating a word over and over again for a hook. No, he did this throughout the entire song, and I honestly could not wait to get this song over with. It got old very quick. I honestly would call this the worst song on the album, and in my opinion, I think it overall just drug the album down as a whole. I'm sorry, but like, not a fan. If I'm being honest though, I think Devil Doesn't Bargain is probably my favorite track on the album. I love the melodies, I love the verses. I think just the way he spoke in those verses, if he had done that throughout the album, overall it would have come across a lot better. I think this is the closest he got to hitting the mark with me on this album, and honestly, I think that is pretty much the only song that I added to my playlist. I think that's the only song that I would go back to from this project. The rest of the album, it wasn't bad, but it just didn't leave much of an impression. Like I said, and like I continue to say, this for me just did not hit the mark. Overall, I think that this album and his audience is younger than I think, younger than I expect. And within that age group, I think this album hits off very well. I think it's definitely something I could see, high school kids, even early college kids listening to, just that demographic. But once you start to age out of that, once you hit your 20s, your mid 20s, which I'm in now, once you hit your later 20s, which a lot of my friends are in, like, this type of thing just comes across as kind of cliche. It comes across as kind of, you're definitely just trying to tell those kids something. At least that's how I perceived it. Overall, I give this album a solid 6 because, let's be real, it's definitely better than Jack Harlow's album. I'll leave it with that. That's how I felt. Thank y'all for watching. Appreciate y'all. Drop down to the comments. Let me know how you feel, what you think. And I'll see y'all in the next one.